Hi everybody, welcome to the world of Micah. Today we are heading into EPCOT here at Walt Disney World. Gonna be talking about some of the grand opening stuff that you don't really hear about. How guests were kind of confused about this place. A lot of people didn't understand it. A lot of people weren't impressed. And newspapers actually wrote about this. And throughout the years, it's kind of been pushed under the rugs and everything. And I figured we'd talk about it today here at the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Now, let's take a closer look. Now, EPCOT opened October 1st, 1982, and this was a reimagining of Walt's original plan and idea for the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, or city of tomorrow, depending on what video or audio you hear of Walt actually calling EPCOT its actual name. And when this place opened, I think a lot of people were picturing something different. They were used to Disneyland, the original Magic Kingdom out in Anaheim, and they were also used to Magic Kingdom Park here at Walt Disney World, which opened October of 1971. And I don't think people in 1982 were really ready for what EPCOT was. And Carden Walker, who was the CEO officer of Walt Disney Productions, on October 24th, 1982, they dedicated this park, and it says, "To all who come to this place of joy, hope, and friendship, welcome. EPCOT is inspired by Walt Disney's vision. Here, human achievements are celebrated through imagination, wonders of enterprise, and concepts, a future that promises new and exciting benefits for all. May EPCOT Center entertain, inform, and inspire, and above all, may instill a new sense of belief and pride in man's ability to shape a world that offers hope to everyone, everywhere." And I think when guests came to Walt Disney World, EPCOT Center, they were not ready for this. They'd already knew about this monorail, but look at this structure that the monorail's going into. Very sleek, very different, very not Disney at the time. And when you see Spaceship Earth, I mean, what a sight to see. Actually, it's so awesome that they decided to put it on the front of a park map. That's how incredible this is. But let's just say not everybody got it. What if I told you certain people, certain guests came to this park and did not get it at all? They were confused, they were lost. They said they missed walking in and out of different alleyways like at the Magic Kingdom. They said, you know, in the Magic Kingdom, you can't see everything when you go in. When you walk into EPCOT, once you get past Spaceship Earth, you can see the entire park. They said there's no thrill, there's no excitement, there's no adventure. Actually, some of these guests went to the newspaper with their comments. Let's talk about it. Now, when EPCOT was having its grand opening, so many people were congratulating EPCOT in the newspaper. You can see Super X drugstore right there. A store in the Orlando Fashion Square Mall put a whole spread, EPCOT, will wonders never cease, with their name on it. Is that Burdines? Isn't that crazy? And Robinson's of Florida, one man dreamed of a new world, a better world. Today his vision is a reality. Thank you, Walt Disney, for always seeking the best in us, for us. Robinson's, Florida. I mean, these were insane. Capture the memories of a lifetime of Kodak products from Albertsons. There's a monorail and Spaceship Earth, where I'm currently sitting. Now, even some of the design groups were promoting, like this Schweitzer Associates. Is that Schweitzer Falls? The architects for the Mexico Pavilion in EPCOT, just letting everybody know, hey, hire us, we did work in EPCOT. Here's one, The Future Is Now. A whole spread about the technology of EPCOT. Them working on audio animatronics, which, when this place first opened, audio animatronics were the bee's knees. You can see here they had close-ups of some of their audio animatronics, which are kind of unheard of today. They kind of don't do that anymore. But you gotta think, this was the 80s, right? This is like peak audio animatronics that Disney like introduced to us in 1955 with the opening of Disneyland, and then in the 70s it's like they perfected it, and then the 80s is when they shot for the moon with audio animatronics. And EPCOT, in my opinion, at one point had the most audio animatronics, I think, in any single Disney park. Like, you got to think about the show scenes in Spaceship Earth, Horizons, Wonders of Life Pavilion, the Energy Pavilion. Like, so many places in here, like so many attractions in EPCOT had audio animatronics, and a lot of people thought they were kind of putting a little heavy emphasis on the animatronics, like they weren't impressed with them anymore. Right here, most visitors laud EPCOT. Some suggest changes. It states in here, EPCOT lives to every expectation, this lady said from Kissimmee. It's better than I ever imagined. And then Ann of Miami said we couldn't want anything more. After all, you can't improve on perfection. But not all visitors were happy. Now, Mr. Dave Ross, he's a manufacturer in Coral Springs, he called himself one of Walt Disney's biggest fans, said that he was extremely disappointed by EPCOT. He had high hopes for it, but he said, I think they missed the mark. They're trying so hard to keep out Mickey Mouse that they forgot that the company started with Mickey Mouse and the Seven Dwarfs. Dave said that they were forgetting that this place was actually started by the Mouse and the Seven Dwarfs, which he is correct on. And he said, in most Disney parks, the two that were out in the world, Disneyland and Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, he said they put animatronics in certain places, but not everywhere. Here, they're trying to shove it down our throats with so many audio animatronics that it's no longer fun. And I gotta say, I gotta disagree with Mr. Dave Ross. That was their selling point. And this place was the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. They were gonna bring you what was gonna be big tomorrow. And yes, audio animatronics are still here in 2023. I just don't see how these people would walk in here and not think this was like the greatest thing in the world. But I honestly think they were expecting to see castles, princesses, waterfalls, storybook things. After all, this is a Walt Disney World park, right? But this place was like an architect's dream and a contractor's maybe worst nightmare. But how could you not just enjoy the sheer splendidness of this place? But after all, some of this stuff did look like, you know, stuff you could see in your local mall, like a fountain.
The sliding doors on your time machine.
Now, when EPCOT first opened, obviously these walls were not here. And when you walked behind Spaceship Earth, you could see everything this place had to offer. Now, here inside Connections Cafe, there's a little piece of EPCOT history. There's the original plans for Project Tomorrow. Progress City right there. Walt's original idea for EPCOT. And there are some trees here now, but when this place first opened, there was no trees. Like, you walked behind Spaceship Earth right here, and you guys remember, everything was just open. It left nothing to the imagination to most guests. Right over here, World of Motion. Straight ahead would have been Horizons, Wonders of Life Pavilion, and the Universe of Energy Pavilion was over here. And I mean, a few trees are here now, but when this place first opened, none of this was here. Monorail track and pavilions, and people just really didn't get it. They were used to the magic, the wonder, the mystery of the Magic Kingdom. And you know how it gets in there. You start walking around buildings and a lot of foliage, and you don't know what's gonna be around the corner. But with EPCOT, everything was bare. Everything was out in the open. Some people even claimed that this place reminded them of an open shopping center. Yeah, certain aspects of here looks like a 1980s mall, but that was the architect's style, especially of the future in 1982. And I could totally see how people were like, what's up with this golf ball thing? Like, the Wonders of Life Pavilion kind of looks like a smaller version of Spaceship Earth, which to most people, they say the golf ball. Is that the golf ball park? Let's go see the giant golf ball. So I'm sure when they first got here, they were like, what is it? What are these pods? And it's weird to me that most people didn't get, you know, what this was about. A lot of people were confused on the landscape, the design, the layout, how everything is just sharp and, you know, straight lined. And then I can see this too. You know, you walk over here right past Spaceship Earth, and you can see everything there is to offer around here. So it's kind of like a World's Fair in a way, you know. It's like you walk to each of the different pavilions, and there you go. And it's all, you know, surrounding this giant golf ball. And there was someone who actually went to the news about his review, calling this a golf ball. And I think he might have been the first person on paper to document the golf ball as the term for Spaceship Earth. Basically said, when he's walking around the World Showcase, he felt like he was in a shopping mall surrounded by this giant dimpled golf ball, reminding him that he was in the same spot in the same park and didn't really wander into some fantasy land. And that's exactly what this place was. No fantasy, it was real. Even just futuristic things that were potentially and probably going to happen. Until one day. There was no Mickey Mouse here when EPCOT first opened. But there was a little character named Figment. It was inspiring you to use your imagination. And Figment lived over here, the Imagination Pavilion, with his owner and friend, Dreamfinder. And I'm going on a tangent here about Figment and Dreamfinder because I heard a little story about Michael Eisner and his son long before Mickey was ever invited to EPCOT Center. Now the story is that Michael Eisner was walking through EPCOT and his son was asking, can we see the Mickey dolls? I want to get a Mickey doll, kind of like bugging him a little bit. And he said, hey, my son wants to check out the Mickey dolls. Where can we see the Mickey dolls? Mr. Eisner, Mickey's not in EPCOT. And he says, well, that stops now because my son wants one. Every dad and mom's son wants a Mickey, and that's how Mickey came to EPCOT. That's what I heard. And when this place first opened, adults didn't understand. They were like, is this park for kids? Is this park for adults? Is it a mix like Magic Kingdom? Like, what is this? People just couldn't understand it, but a lot of people did, and a lot of people loved it. But I don't know, the first time I was ever here, I was mesmerized by EPCOT. Just Spaceship Earth alone. I was like, what in the world is that? And a lot of people thought the same way. And what's funny about that is Mickey actually moved in. Next to Figment, you can meet Mickey Mouse. Right in here, the former home of Captain EO. There's even a short film festival here that features a Mickey Mouse short. And I gotta disagree with saying that they wish they had more sense of wonder and imagination. Walking through these pavilions, you will get nothing but that. Yes, even though a lot of it is just shopping and dining, there are a few pavilions that have attractions here though. And I have to disagree once again with, you know, seeing the giant golf ball in the distance, because there's symbolism here, man. All these different countries, and we're all surrounded by, you know, a common thing. I think that's what they were going for here. But some people just didn't get it. And in the majority of the Magic Kingdom, you can always look up and see Cinderella Castle in the distance in majority of the park. There were some statements about people saying their feet were very tired and that this was definitely not a park for older folks, saying that the walking was insane. But I think they're just used to grounding the corners and there being an attraction around, you know, majority of the buildings in the Disney parks. I think people are used to the, you know, the concept of a Disney park of walking around little nooks and crannies and not really knowing where you are in the park. And with EPCOT, you're completely exposed. You can stand at any of the pavilions and get your bearings because of Spaceship Earth. And I think that kind of threw people off because they were like, oh my gosh, we've only walked this far. Whereas like with Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, you can walk through all the different lands and you kind of don't really realize where you're going. And sometimes you're backpedaling all day, depending on your route. But I don't know. I can see, you know, points to each argument, but I think EPCOT is mesmerizing. I think it's just brilliant. So what are your thoughts? Chime in, comment, let me know what your thoughts were on EPCOT the first time you ever visited this park. When I first came to this place, I absolutely loved it. What's there not to love? Love EPCOT. And I'm glad we got to do this today, talk about some history of EPCOT and some of the reviews from the first visitors ever. And EPCOT's come a long way since October 1st, 1982, but I'm looking very much to the future of this experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Well, we came, we saw, we took care of business today here at EPCOT, and I will see you guys on the next adventure. Until then, stay weird. Goodbye.